Hello, welcome back to my vlog. This is I'm rubbing my legs. I'm like, you know when you rub your thighs like a weirdo? I don't know why I'm doing that. It's not, I'm not like a nervous person normally when talking, but I think it's because I haven't planned this video and it's sort of my first sit down and chat to the camera video. Like obviously I chat to the camera normally when I, you know, as part, like if I do a makeup look or whatever during my normal Diary of a Hair and Makeup Artist vlogs, because they're part, I'm talking to you throughout the day, and you know my get ready with me's as part of my diary of a week are going to always be in that. But this is more of just a straight sit down talk, and also I haven't planned any of this. I haven't planned at all what I'm going to talk about or say, so I don't know how it's going to go, and I'm going to try and keep it short as well because I don't think anyone wants to like really watch long videos. I also didn't get ready for this, like I've got in from work and I thought if I don't sit down and do it now, I've taken my hair out, it was up, and so that's why it looks like really undone. But if I don't do it now, I'm not going to do it. It's really hot in London today. I'm going to just have a shower, get ready, freshen up and go out later, but I just thought let's sit down now. I've had an early finish from work, it's still only 3-4 o'clock, so I've got no excuse to make a video about the finer parts of being a makeup artist and hairstylist, and as the title of this video suggests, what I hate about it. And I suppose I should make a video to say what I actually love about being a hair and makeup artist, but I feel like, and I think what's triggered me to do this video now was a conversation I had in the back of an Uber today, because the job I did was up in North London, and just logistically, even though it wasn't far, it was only about 5 miles, it would have taken me about an hour. Oh, I'm sorry, I got up at 6. It would have taken me an hour and 20 minutes to get there on different modes of transport, so I just got an Uber, but the Uber ride back was about an hour to go those 5 miles. So I was chatting with the driver, and he was from Nigeria. He's lived in London for 20 years. He's just done his master's in chemical engineering. He wants to work in the gas and oil industry. So he has absolutely had no like knowledge of my career, of hair and makeup or anything. So he was asking me loads of questions. We were just talking about our careers and what we like and don't like. And that's kind of what prompted me to make this video, because it was just this conversation that I have every single day pretty much with people about my job, and the same questions are asked. I answer them in the way that they don't expect, and it always shows me how little people know about my job. And that's normal, right? Because I don't know about the chemical, you know, engineering part of the oil and gas industry, which is why conversations are important. So I'm not saying they're bad questions or you shouldn't assume or judge or anything about anyone else's lives or careers, but I thought I'd come in here to talk to anyone who might want to get into my industry or might be interested in my career, what it's really like. Should have done some questions or done like a better layout, I feel like, but I haven't, so I'm just gonna have to think of things based on his questions. So firstly, and actually it happened because one of the people I was working on today also asked me some questions about my job, and again I had no idea, because the first thing she said was, have you always been in beauty? And I was like, oh, I don't do any beauty. And she was like, what, but you do hair and makeup? So let's narrow down what my job actually is and kind of categories of hair and makeup that are available into careers. Firstly, the beauty industry. Nothing to do with us. We have absolutely no qualifications or any knowledge of, or no one I know within my industry has any knowledge of, although I suppose some people might have come from that when they were very, very young, before uni, before studying, possibly, but it's rare. Anything you have done, waxing, lashes, brows, tanning, facial rejuvenation, aesthetics, facials, massage, none of those are within my industry whatsoever, and it would be like saying all tradesmen are the same. It would be like comparing an electrician to a carpenter. Yes, they are all tradesmen who all might be partake in building of a house, but they all have their very separate roles within the building industry. Just narrow it down to that, which also has a lot of other complexities. So that's that. Beauty is nothing to do with it. I am a hairstylist, and another misconception, I am not a hairdresser. So in our industry, it's very rare that you'll be a hairdresser and a hairstylist. Just like in the hairdressing industry, it's very rare that they are actually hairstylists. In fact, 9 times out of 10 when I go to the hairdresser, which is very rare, they can't style my hair, or they can't style it well, or they don't have a knowledge of products. They are extremely good at cutting and colouring, finishing the hair, making it feel healthy and clean. Unfortunately, what we do is kind of the opposite of that, and we make the hair feel pretty tough and gritty and hairsprayed because we have to style it into submission to get it to do what we want for 12 hours. So we're not hairdressers. Makeup wise, there are lots of different pathways within the makeup industry you go into. I am in the factual TV industry, so I do light entertainment, factual programming, shiny floor shows, documentaries and magazine programs. That is my side of the TV industry. I have absolutely nothing to do with scripted TV, so I don't work on dramas, soaps, biopics, reenactments, historical dramas. I don't do anything like that. I make people, in my industry, I make people look good in any situation. On a cliff or a countryside farm documentary, on a shiny floor show like Ant Index Saturday Night Takeaway or The Chase or something that's in a studio with a shine. That's why they're called shiny floors with big lights for a 12-hour day. I make people look good, whether they're members of the public, we call them contributors on the shows, or whether they're talent, i.e. the presenters, the celebrities, the actors, the singers coming onto that talk show or onto that quiz show or whatever that might be. In scripted, so the drama, the soaps, the historical reenactments, whatever they might be, they make people look like other people, they make people look older, they make people bleed, they do prosthetics, they make people look like aliens, they have to do continuity makeup, so the makeup and hair has to be the same from episode 1, which they're then picking up in 6 months' time when they have to do a pick-up on that episode. So that's not me, that's what I don't do whatsoever, and because of that I also don't work in film. So that's what I do. And then within my industry, you have to do hair as well because there's no budget within TV, so you have to be a really good hairstylist and a makeup artist. One of the things I hate, to try and loop the title of this video back in together, is how difficult our job is and how little time, resources and how situationally difficult my job is. So one of the main things that people say to me every day is, you must love your job. And when I say I don't love my job, I think people are slightly affronted by that. And that's because they've asked me quite a black and white question, so I've answered it in a black and white way. Of course, it's more layered than that. I love how good I am at my job. I love the career I've made for myself, and I'm incredibly proud of the career I work in. I love the incredible people I get to meet, from David Attenborough to the Rolling Stones to the royal family, all the celebrities I've worked with, all the incredible scientists, politicians, mathematicians, singers, actors I've got to work with. It's extraordinary if I think about it. In fact, I don't even think about it or remember it most of the time because it seems like a different person's life. I love the places I get to go to, palaces, underground hidden crypts in old museums. I've been, in Westminster Abbey at a royal wedding. I've been at Windsor Castle. I've been underground in crypts of London. I've been in the Blitz bombings, reenactments. I've been behind the scenes at festivals, in theatres, at music gigs, big studios. I've been on set for movies, behind the scenes doing a documentary, Harry Potter. Amazing. I love that. I love the fact that I earn money independently. I am my own boss. Everything I've achieved is completely by myself, and I'm extraordinarily proud of that and of myself. I love the people, my colleagues, the other makeup artists, production coordinators, production managers, everyone around me that I get to be with. I hate the bones of the job, the doing of the job, and that is because, actually, as much as I've talked about film and TV, there's two other pathways within hair and makeup that you can do: fashion and theatre. I'm not even going to talk about theatre. You have to be able to do wigs. It's late nights. It's big long runs. It's the same thing every day. It's rushed. And to be honest, there isn't really normally a proper makeup department. It's more just wigs, because most of the time people do their own makeup. So I'm not even going to talk about theatre, and it's not my role anyway. Fashion was a little bit my role in the sense that I do e-com sometimes, which is the models that you see wearing the clothes when you click on like ASOS or Marks and Spencer's or whatever that might be. You know, when you click and see them do the turn and da-da-da, they have hair and makeup, although that's probably going to fade away because AI, why would you even do that? So I've done a lot of e-com, and that's led, and around the scenes I've done shoots for brands like French Connection, Ted Baker, Koza, Florence and Fred, different jewelry, God I can't even remember now, different jewellery brands, like just loads, but that was years ago, so I don't really do it anymore. And in hair and in fashion, you have separate hair and separate makeup normally, but in e-com you kind of do both. But you are with a model who's normally extremely attractive, has amazing skin, amazing hair, all the reasons why they are models. You also are given a decent amount of time. A lot of, like I just shot with a model this week actually, just by coincidence, which hasn't happened for a long time. You know, I had an hour and a half to do someone's hair and makeup that just had loose straight hair, and I needed a couple of spots covered and some mascara. You know, it was a joke. Whereas in my world, I should have brought a drink with me. I'm really thirsty now. I'm talking this much. I'm just gonna sit back a little bit. In my world, sorry for sitting like this. I just feel like it's the most I feel like I should be like talking into the camera like this. But if I'm going to be here for a while, I want to be comfy. That is a bit far back, isn't it? Maybe I'll come up like this. Is that better? Sorry. In my world, it's really rushed, and this gets back to what I hate about my job. If you are getting into my industry, you have to be prepared to be quick and uncomfortable and unhappy. And what I mean by that is doing someone's makeup who's got about half an hour, and you'll do their hair and makeup in that time. You've never met them before. They're also a normal person usually, so it's very rare that, like a lot of the celebrities I do they're not models. They want to look like themselves, they want to be themselves. They have opinions on how they look. They might have, you know, they might be 50 by the time they made it onto this TV studio, so they have very much a way of doing things. And then, or they might have their own makeup artist, or they've been shot loads of different times before and they know how they want to look. So when I get someone and sit them down, it's not a case of me just cracking on with it and doing what I want. It's talking through what they want, them trying to explain to me. Sometimes they're feeling uncomfortable, they're stressed, they're nervous. So out of that half an hour, 5 minutes is just chatting things through, figuring out what they want, get them to just sit down and be still. They're normally on too low a chair. A lot of places don't have a chair high enough. For me, I'm 5'9", and so my back is bent like this the whole time, and also I can't see their face. I would love to, as I'm talking to you now, that's how I'd love to do your makeup, like looking in your eyes straight on, so I can see all angles of your face. I'd like you on a stool that maybe moves, or I can move around you so I can see you. Normally they're in a chair at a desk. I've got to move and bend my body in around them and my hand up underneath to do them. That's really difficult. Firstly, most people have an hour for makeup and an hour for hair. I have to do it all in half an hour, 45 minutes, while they're eating, while they're on the phone, while they're talking, onto a lower chair where I can't see them. The room is normally not lit correctly. I don't have a mirror. If I do have a mirror, it's here, and I need it up here. I can't even see them properly. There's a lot of things to it that are difficult. There's not a plug in the right place. Stuff gets put on my desk when I need the space to put my kit out, or there isn't even any space to put my kit out. Someone hasn't provided a table for me, or they just said, oh, can you put it on the sofa? But I've got to bend down to get it, which loses me time. All those things mean before you've even started, you're on the back foot. You're feeling uncomfortable. You're feeling physically uncomfortable, awkward, you know, emotionally uncomfortable. You don't know the person that well, and it makes it really, really tricky to do a good job. That's the first thing that's difficult. The second thing is that they might have come with their hair not prepped in the right way. It might be greasy, it might be wet, that loses you time trying to sort that out. The skin might not be prepped. So all these things I've got to prepare for, make sure I've got with me. And then they've got to go on and film, and wherever that might be. Could be in the rain outside, could be in the wind, could be on a boiling hot day, and I have to make sure that they look good and feel comfortable all day long. And ultimately they don't, and ultimately it doesn't look the best. And the crew, the production team, they don't really care about the hair and makeup. They don't really care the knock-on effect it will have on me. For example, if I'm given a bad start, as in not the right environment, chair, height, darkness of the room, that talent, that celebrity I'm working with might not think I'm very good because I'm rushed and it's not great and it doesn't look great. Then they go outside and film for 5 hours in the wind and rain, and they're not happy with the final product when they see it on the screen. That's my fault. And I am generalising, I'm not blaming anyone, but the production company cares less about that than they do than getting the programme made. I won't be hired again because that celebrity might not think I'm very good, even though I was put in that bad position to begin with. I haven't got time when the hair gets wet. We're in a field. I've got nowhere to plug in a hairdryer. I can't re-dry it. I can't re-sort it out. So those things are incredibly frustrating. And when you're doing some kind of location filming like that, you might need to go back and film again that segment at a later date to pick up on the story, to go back and visit the people we were talking to. Say you imagine something like Grand Designs, which it doesn't have hair and makeup, I've not worked on it, but just for example, if you've seen it, they film in 2003 and go back in 2005 to see the house was built. Sometimes they have to fake scenes, so therefore the hair and makeup has to look the same as it did then, but it was wet and it was grey outside then, and I have to try and redo it a year later to look the same, and it doesn't, and it's my fault, and you're like, this is crazy. That's what I hate about my job most. It's just feeling like, it's not that I don't love my job, I hate not being able to do the job I'm so good at properly. So you are always feeling anxious about it, you're always feeling frustrated, there's never enough time, you don't know the person, you don't get to build up a relationship, and then the job's over. Because most of my jobs are one day, 2 or 3 days maybe. You might see that person 3 times a year. Also do male grooming as part of my thing, so it could be working with men as well, which obviously everyone's like, oh, just a powder. It's not just a powder. It's obviously easier doing than doing a woman, but trimming the nose there, taking bogies out of people's eyes, taking sleep out of men's eyes. Men don't take care of themselves. Their skin is normally bad, burnt, blistered, pock marks. If they're older men, there'll be some damage, skin cancer, pieces missing, flaky skin, dry skin, psoriasis, flaking scalp, dandruff in the scalp, greasy hair. I've got to trim their ear hairs, I've got to trim their hair, I've got to shave them, I've got to do prep, skincare before the makeup goes on. Anti-shine, because they're normally really shiny. Bald head. Like, you know, look how shiny I am now, and I've got makeup on. Men are just grease balls. Anti-shine, concealer, foundation, powder, all while I've got about 3 minutes with them, because they don't really want to be there. They don't like having their hair and makeup done. They think it's not important, and then when they go on TV, they look like a bag of shit if I don't do everything I've done. So it's more than just a powder, but again, we have even less time with them, and that is, God, I'm so shy, I'm now aware of how shiny I am. Sorry. So that's something, it's just all basically about me always being on the back foot, I feel like, with my job. How many minutes are we now? Nearly 20 minutes. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up under half an hour because there's a lot of talking to me too, but that's the actual job. The unknown every day, the anxiety of what it's going to be like, what we're going to arrive to, and the lack of time. When I finish that job, I have paperwork to do before it and obviously after it. Before it, that could be organising schedules, breaking down call sheets. We're often not told enough information in advance, so I have to ask a lot more questions, and it could be something like we're called, and when I say called, it means the time you're asked to arrive. We could be called there at 8 AM, but the talent might not be arriving until 10 AM. And the production company, whoever's booking, might say, oh, it's because we left time for you to set up. I don't need 2 hours to set up, I need 5 minutes. So then you're 2 hours sitting there doing nothing, which is frustrating. But then you have half an hour to actually get the person ready. So it's things like, unfortunately, that means that I then have to sort of go back to the production company and ask a lot of questions. And most of the time this is thought about, but it's very rare someone actually comes to the makeup artist and says, what do you need? What can we do to help you, to make you, not to make your life easier, but to make you feel more professional. So I have to then go back and ask a lot of questions, and that is obviously a lot of paperwork, and I don't want to be annoying, but I think it's really important. I'm definitely not, I own a hair and makeup agency, so I provide hair and makeup artists 2 jobs. So I'm even more conscious of this now, because I don't want to send one of my friends, the people who do jobs for me are my friends who I just give work to. They don't work for me, they're not employed by me. You know, it's not a traditional agency in that sense. Like, they're just doing me a favour and I pass a job on to them, but I do all the logistics for it. And I'll often take a cut from it if I can, if it's good enough pay. Sometimes it's not, which I don't take a cut, but that doesn't matter. It's all about, you know, creating this network. And I now, from this lived experience I've been doing this for 23, nearly 24 years, I find that if I don't ask these questions, problems happen. So the run up to it is long. There's a lot of emails back and forth just to get us there. And then it comes to wrap and going home, and then that's when the real paperwork starts, because trying to get paid as a freelancer with companies now is just getting worse year by year. I feel like there's less humans working in companies and therefore more is done online, which is completely normal and absolutely fair enough. To sign up or on board to a company now is basically like, if you were on a job, if you can remember when you started your job what you had to do to become part of that company. Imagine me doing that 300 times a year, because I work for 300 different companies a year. If a big brand, say like a big skincare conglomerate, I'm not going to use any names, but conglomerate who owns a lot of skin or makeup companies, recently one of my team was working on a shoot for them, a skincare shoot. They're American based. For me to just send my invoice in, which by the way, the invoices take a little bit of time themselves, you know, breaking them down, sorting out the receipts for the travel, adding them on, putting the VAT on, you know, all of that. You've then got to go to the company and say, I need your limited company address, I need your limited company name, I need the PO number, I need to know what you need to onboard me. They'll take my invoice in and I'll get that information, I'll put it on the invoice, I'll send it in. About 3 or 4 weeks later, I'll go, hi, just to let you know, I haven't been paid yet, you know, just check in if everything's all right. They'll then come back and be like, oh, actually it's coming from America, so we forgot, or we didn't, or whatever the reason is, to say that we need you to send across letterheaded paper of your company, a photograph of your passport, a photograph of you holding your driving license. You have to email those to America. They'll then get you set up on like an umbrella system, like an accounting system within their company. So then I have to sign up to that, new password, you know, put my email address in, go through pages of contracts, slavery reports, discussing what my company is and like who they employs, who, you know, how big it is. Do I have any chemicals within my factories? Like insane, ridiculous questionnaires. That then takes another 2-3 weeks to go to. So then by the time I get paid, it's normally about three months. And if it's a company that are based outside of the UK, they don't have to pay VAT, so I have to pay the VAT on it, which is 20%, which is, you know, it's £20 out of every 100. So, you know, for £300, that's £60 I've got to pay. And if someone's working for me, I have to swallow that but still pay the person's VAT who's working for me because they're English based. So just the logistics behind it, the paper, the back and forth, and the having to chase people is another reason I absolutely hate my job, and something you should definitely be aware of before going into it. If you're not massively, you don't necessarily need to be massively academic, but you need to be quick, you need to be on it, you need to know what you're doing, you need to know what you're asking, and you need to be very computer literate. And all of that has to be done on a mobile phone this big, because you're often doing these emails while you're out and about in another job. If not, you'll end up doing them at midnight every night on your laptop, because here's the last thing I hate about my job, the hours. They are long. If you think you're going to get into some kind of 9-to-5 career, no, you're not. You're working. I've worked Christmas Day, Easter, every weekend. For me to have a weekend off is, you know, oh gosh, I look so awful. I can't even believe what I'm looking like in the monitor. I should have done my hair for you before I did this. And now I'm just feeling super vain about it because I'm talking about being a hairstylist and I'm look like this. An average, a normal day is 10 hours. Most likely it's 12 hours, and that's forgetting the travel. I live in central London. I'm super lucky. It means I'm sort of equidistant to kind of travel everywhere. but often it's Manchester, Birmingham, and one of the home counties. So you're looking at least an hour to go a few miles, and then two hours to go further. So if you're adding 2 hours each way, 4 hours onto a 12-hour day, you're in trouble. And most of the time your call time is going to be 8 a.m, 7 a.m. So yeah, if you're filming on a series around the country, you'll be in hotels, you'll be moving hotels, which means you have to get your kit in and set up in your room for the talent to come to you before they're even your call time. So even though your call time might be 6:30 a.m, you've probably had to get set up and everything ready in that hotel at 6 a.m. That means you've got to eat before and get yourself ready before. So maybe a sound guy might be, you know, having a call time for 8 a.m. You've been up since 5:30. So it's that side of things, you know, you just don't think about. And you will be setting up in environments that could be cold. You know, you have to carry... Oh, let's do the fourth thing. We're at 25 minutes. We're nearly at half an hour. So let's do the fourth thing I hate about my job. Carrying my kit around. Every hair and makeup artist has a huge suitcase. Weighs about 10 stone. Between like 7 and 10 stone of hair and makeup kit. Now, if you're away on location, you need wellies. You need flip-flops. It might be hot. You need wellies. It might be wet. You might need snow boots. It might be cold. You need base layers. You need a hot water bottle. You might need to take your pillow with you. You need clothes for every day. You might need pyjamas, underwear, your wash stuff. That can't go in that suitcase. That has to go in another suitcase. So that's 2 massive suitcases that you might be carrying through Glastonbury Festival because you're working there for 3 days. Across fields, across mud, stones, bumping it along. I've actually got tears in my ligaments across my collarbone and down this part of my arm because I've either been working like this for too many years, blow drying, lifting, but mostly because I've been dragging this really heavy suitcase up and down stairs, tube steps, train steps, in and out the back of cars, taxis, theatres, people's homes, top floor flats. It is very strenuous on your body. The bending over, the pulling, the lifting, the helping the crew carry stuff, standing up for 12 hours a day, mostly on concrete floors in studios, so you're standing, you know, in hard shoes on a hard floor for hours and hours with no seat. So that is something to be aware of, is the hours and what it does on your body and the travel and the carrying. And that's it. Those are the 4 major things I hate about my job. Nobody asked for this, but I just think I really wanted to summarise to anyone thinking about being a hair and makeup artist in the TV industry, what it's really like, and to kind of combat the most common comments I get about my career is that it's fun and that you love it. Because nobody says to an accountant, oh my god, you must love your job, it must be so fun. But because I'm in a creative industry with celebrities and it looks glamorous and fun, when I say, oh no, it's none of those things, people get quite offended and they almost want me to sort of be grateful for and agree with what they're saying because it's a fun job. My camera's now overheating, I've got to go. And it's not that I'm not any of those things, I just have to be realistic about what it is really like. So there we are. Thank you for listening to my tirade. I know this was really long and I know this is very niche, so hardly anyone's going to watch this. It's not going to be interesting to hardly anyone, but if you have any questions about my industry, I would love to answer them. And I just think it's always good to have the knowledge before you go into something, because I definitely didn't. I started this job before the internet, before social media, from a farm in Cornwall with no peers. I'd never been to London before, knew nothing about the industry, and I wish I had something like this to turn to. So anyway, I'm going to go and get drunk. Thanks for listening. Please like and subscribe. So this was all worth it. I'll see you on the next normal vlog. Bye.